Welcome to the next session on RS. I am Modikari Narendra, working as Assistant Professor in Vignan University. The topics to be covered in this session is motivation to use arrays, introduction to arrays, how to declare arrays, how to initialize arrays, how to access elements of an array, and then some examples on arrays. Okay, and then we will discuss advantage and disadvantage of using arrays. First, let's start with a scenario so that motivates us to use arrays. So let's consider a scenario where you need to find average of 100 numbers, let's say 100 integers. Okay, the scenario is you have to find the average of 100 numbers. Okay, generally what you will do, you will allocate memory for 100 variables, then you will write 100 statements to read those 100 variables, then you will write 100 statements to add them, and then you will find the average, then you will print the result. Okay, let's see. So what you will do is, the first thing is you will declare a memory for all the 100 numbers, number 1, number 2, number 3 and so on, number 100, which requires 100 statements, 100 declarative statements, as you need 100 numbers. Then you need to get all the numbers one after another. So for each number you have to write one input statement. Okay, statement 1, statement 2 and so on, 100 statements. So again you need 100 input statements. Then after this you have to add all the numbers to sum. Okay, declare a sum and initialize it with 0, then add all the numbers. So it is number 1, number 2, number 3 and so on, number 100. So you need to write 100 statements. Okay, each statement for adding a number. Then you will find out the average, which requires one statement. Then you will print the result, which requires one statement. Okay, let's count how many number of statements you need to write to find the average of 100 given numbers. Okay, 100 statements for declaring 100 variables, 100 statements for reading 100 variables, then 100 statement for adding 100 numbers, then so one statement for initializing some value to 0, then one statement to find the average, then one statement to print the result. So totally how many statements you need to write? You need to write 303 statements to find the average of 3 numbers. Okay, so you need 303 statements to find the average of 100 numbers. If you want to find out the average of 1000 numbers, so how many statements you need? You need 100 declarative statements, 100 input statements, 100 statements for adding the numbers, 100 numbers, then these 3 remaining statements. One is for initializing sum, finding the average and print the result. So you need 3003 statements. Okay, but this is not the efficient way of writing the program. So why I am telling this? Because, so if you observe these 100 statements, all are looks like almost same. Okay, here also all these 100 statements looks like almost same. And here also all these 100 statements looks like almost same, not exactly same. Okay, this is the way how you are supposed to perform an operation called as finding average of 1000 numbers. So you need to write lots and lots of statements to find the average of this result. Okay, let's consider one more scenario. Let's say you are working in weather department and you would like to find the average, minimum, maximum, median and standard deviation of temperatures that recorded at different time intervals. Okay, if you assume that you are recording temperature at different time intervals and you would like to find the mean, median, average, standard deviation, minimum and maximum of the temperatures that you recorded at different time intervals. So what you would do, again you have to declare 100 variables for 100 temperatures that you recorded at different time intervals, and you need to write 100 input statement to record all the 100 input values, temperature values. Then you need to write 100 statement to find the average of all the temperatures. Okay, so you need to write these many number of statements to perform generally a basic average of given 100 values. So this is not the efficient way of writing programs when you are working with the large data. If you are working with three or four numbers, or maybe up to 10 numbers, okay, this way of writing programs looks better. But if you are working with large amount of data like 50, 100, 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh quantity of data, and this way of writing programs is not at all efficient. Okay, so what we will do? Okay, we will go with a new concept called arrays. Okay, and we will eliminate the redundant code in our program. Okay, so before going into the arrays, let's see what we did in the previous program. So what we are doing is we are declaring 100 numbers, number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on, 100 numbers, number 100. So this is what happens if you declare 100 variables. Okay, a memory will be allocated for each and every variable. Okay, and these memory locations will be at random locations, depends on where the memories are available. Okay, so number 1 will be in one location, number 2 will be in some other location, number 3 will be in some other locations, and number 100 in different locations. So all the variables will be at different locations. Okay, you need to give a separate name like number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on, number 100, in order to identify them. Okay, you have to give unique name to identify all these 100 variables. Okay, so the number of names you need for giving unique name is 100. Okay, if you don't give a unique name for all these variables, and it's very difficult for us to differentiate between them. Okay, so you need lots of names. Okay, if you are working with 100 variables, you have to give 100 different names. If you are working with 1000 variables, 1000 data, you need to give 1000 different names. And if you are working with 10,000 data, and you need to give 10,000 different names for all these variables. Okay, and you need to remember all those names while you are writing the program. In order to avoid these kind of problems, what we will do is, instead of storing them at different random locations, let's store all of them consecutively one after another. I'll tell you what is the advantage of storing the elements one after another. Okay, this is for variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, variable 4, variable 5, and so on, variable 100. Instead of storing the elements at different locations randomly in random locations, let's store them sequentially one after another, and let's see the advantage of this one. Okay, as far as computing device is concerned, every computing device will have a memory. Okay, a memory in terms of bytes. Like we are having house numbers for every house. Okay, the memory in computing device will have byte numbers. Those byte numbers are called as physical address. Physical address. Okay, every memory location, every byte in a computing device, so will have a unique number. That number is called as physical address. It's also called as location of the byte. Location of the byte. Location of the byte. Okay, it is the physical address of the byte is equivalent to the house number that every house is having. Okay, so every byte will have physical address, and that physical address is represented as hexadecimal. Okay, like this 0x1248, where 0x specifies that this number is in hexadecimal format. Okay, so the physical, okay, this is one physical address 1248. So this is another physical address 124836. So the number of digits in the physical address depends on the hardware. Okay, depends on your hardware. Okay, some device will have 4 digits, some device will have 6 digits, some device will have 8 digits. So generally every location will have a number. Okay, that number is called as physical address. Okay, now come back. Okay, now come back to our discussion. So what is the advantage of storing the numbers in sequential order? Okay, let's come back. So what is the advantage of storing the elements in sequential order? Okay, so assume that the address of this location is 100. Generally, the address is in terms of hexadecimal numbers. But for explanation convenience, I am talking in terms of decimal numbers. But generally, the address is not in hexadecimal. Okay, the address is in terms of hexadecimal representation. But for explanation convenience, I am working with the decimal numbers as address. Okay. Okay, let's assume that the starting address of first element is 100. Okay, let's assume that these elements are 8, 7, 3, 2, 5, 16. And assume that I am going to store all the natural numbers, all the integers. Okay. So what the size of each block, and these are called as block. So I am calling this one as block, as each block is having more than 1 byte. How much size each block needs? How many bytes each block needs? The number of bytes needed by each block depends on what kind of data you are storing in that block. Okay, if you are storing the character values, each block requires only 1 byte. If you would like to store natural numbers like integers, then each block requires 4 bytes. The size of integer is either 2 bytes or 4 bytes, depends on the hardware. Some computers will have 2 bytes, some computer will have 4 bytes as size of integer. Let's assume that the size of integer is 4 bytes. Okay, I would like to store integers. Okay, so where the size of each block is 4 bytes. Okay, so the address of first block is 100 and the first block requires 4 bytes. Then what is the address of second block? The address of first block is 100 and that first block occupied 4 bytes. Then what is the address of second block? 100 plus 4 bytes. If the address of second block is 104 and if the second block occupies 4 bytes, so what is the address of third block? 108. If the address of third block is 108 and if third block occupies 4 bytes, so what is the address of fourth block? 112, and this is 116 and so on. So what I am trying to say is, if you know the address of first block, then you need not to remember the address of the remaining blocks. How? The address of first block, assume that the address of first block is 100. What is the address of second block? The address of first block plus the number of bytes occupied by the first block, which is 104. What is the address of third block? The address of first block plus the number of bytes occupied by the previous two blocks. What is the address of fourth block? The address of fourth block is nothing but the address of first block plus the number of blocks occupied by the previous three blocks. So what I am trying to say is, if you know the address of first block and if you know how many bytes each block requires, if you know the address of first block and if you know how many bytes each block needs, then you need not to remember the address of remaining blocks. You can calculate the address of remaining blocks based on the address of first block. Okay, so let's say that so what is the address of 25th block? What is the address of 25th block? What is the address of 25th block? You can compute this like this. The address of first block plus the address number of bytes occupied by the previous 24 blocks. 24 into 4. 1000, sorry, it's 96, 196. Okay, so if you know the address of first block, the address of remaining blocks you can compute by yourself and you need not to remember the address of the remaining blocks. Okay, so that is the advantage of going with the sequential allocation, contiguous allocation. Previously, if there is no, okay, if you are not allocating memory continuously, what happened? You need to give separate name for each and every memory location. If you are declaring 100 variables, you need to give 100 different names, one each for one variable. But if you allocate variables continuously, you need not to give separate names for each and every variable. What you need to know is, you should know the address of first block, and how many bytes each block requires. If you know these two values, then you can compute the address of remaining blocks. So by using a formula like this. Okay, the formula is the formula is the address of first block plus previous count of previous blocks, how many number of blocks are there before that, into size of each block. This is the formula. Okay, the formula is address of first block plus how many number of blocks are there before that and what is the size of each block. So if you, for example, assume that the starting address is 1000, starting address. The starting address is also called as base address. Base address. Assume that the base address is 1000 and the size of each block is 4 bytes. Then how to calculate the size of, how to calculate the address of the remaining blocks? Let's say if I want to find out the address of 11th block, address of 11th block is equal to the address of first block plus, when I say 11th block, 10 blocks will be there before that, into the size of each block is 4. So 1000 plus 40 is equal to 1040. So this is the address of 11th block. Okay, so this is the advantage of allocating memory continuously. Okay, you need not to give a separate name for each and every variable to identify them uniquely. Okay, you just have to remember the base address and how many bytes each block requires. So from that you can compute the remaining addresses. Okay, and the next one is, if you know address, how to calculate, how to find the element in that address. Okay, the next one is, so assume that you have an array with 100 elements. Assume that the base address is 1000. Okay, the base address is 1000, and assume that this 1000 is there in a variable called A. Okay, assume that you stored 100 numbers continuously, and the starting address is 1000. The address of first block is 1000. If you know the address of a location, how to access the value in that location? Access value using address. How to access a value in a location if you know the address? So we have an operator called as dereferencing operator. So what is that operator? Dereferencing operator. It is a unary operator. It takes only one operand. So there is an operator called as dereferencing operator to access the value if you know the address location. So for example, assume that the address of first block is A. Then if you want to access the value in that location, so this is the way how you are supposed to access. Okay, so dereference A. So if you dereference A, you can find the value in that location. Okay, you can also call this one as the valuate operator. Okay, if you want to find out the value in the second block, star A plus 1. Okay, A plus 1 stands for the address of first block after A. If you want to find out the value of third block, star A plus 2, where A plus 2 stands for the second block after A. So this is A, this is A plus 1, this is A plus 2, this is A plus 3, and so on. This is A plus 99. Okay, where A is nothing but the address of first block. A plus 1 is nothing but the address of first block after A, which is nothing but second block. So what is A plus 2? The address of second block after A. So it is nothing but third block. Okay, the first block is A, the second block is A plus 1, the address of third block is A plus 2, the address of fourth block is A plus 3, and so on. The address of the 100th block is 99. Okay, A plus 99. Okay, so if you know the address of the blocks, then you can access the value in that address by using an operator called as dereferencing operator. This dereferencing operator is a unary operator which takes only one operand. Okay, star A. Star A is nothing but you are dereferencing the memory location A. If you dereference the memory location A, then you can access the value in that location. Okay, So here you are dereferencing a plus 1 block, which is second block. Here you are dereferencing a plus 2 block, which is third block. Okay. This star A, I can write it as star A plus 0. Okay, because adding 0 doesn't change anything. Okay. This dereferencing operator can be replaced with an operator called as array subscript operator. Okay, instead of writing star A plus 0, you can write it as A of 0. Both gives the same meaning. So you can write as A of 1. Star A plus 1 can be written as A of 1. Star A plus 2 can be written as A of 2. Star A plus 99 can be written as A of 99. Okay, these are two ways how you can access the value in memory locations. Okay, either by using dereferencing operator called star, or you can use a subscript operator like A of 0, A of 1, A of 2 and so on, A of 99. Okay, where 0, 1, 2, 3 represent indexes. Okay, the index of first block is 0. Okay, what is index? An index is nothing but how many blocks it is away from the first block. I will repeat once again. What is index? An index is nothing but how many blocks far away a particular element from the beginning element, from the start element. Okay, I repeat once again, the index is nothing but how far a given element is from the first block. Okay, the first element is not far away from the, it's not away from the first block, so index is 0. The second block is one block away from the first block, so index is 1. The second block is 2 blocks away from the first block, so index is 2. Then the third block the fourth block is 3 blocks away from the first block, so it is A of 3. The 100th block is 99 blocks away from the first block, so the index is A of 99. You have to be very careful with this one. The index will always start with 0. Why index will start with 0? Why the index of first element is 0? Because the first block is not away from the first block itself. Okay, so it is 0 blocks. The first block is 0 blocks away from the first block, so the index is 0. So this is the advantage of if you use continuous memory allocation. Okay, you need not to remember the address of each and every block. You need not to remember the address of every block. Okay, what you can do is, if you know the starting address of block is A, if you know the address of first block is A, so based on this you can access the address of any other block. So let us say if you want to access, so the memory of, I will write a table, memory and elements. Okay, how to, so the address of first block is, assume that the address of first block is A. What is the address of second block? A plus 1, as it is 1 block away from the first block. What is the address of third block? It is 2 blocks away from the first block. What is the address of 100th block? The 100th block is 99 blocks away from first block. So this is the way how you are supposed to compute the address of, okay, how you are supposed to compute the address of all the remaining blocks. If you know the address of the blocks, you can access those values by using two operators, either dereferencing operator or index of operator. Okay, so if this a can be written as a plus 0. Okay, if you know the address and you can access the elements in that address, so by using dereferencing operator. How to access the address of second element? Value at a plus 1 block. How to access the value of third block? The value at a plus 2 and so on. How to access the element at 100th block? A plus 99. This is one way of accessing the elements. Or you can use array subscript, like star a plus 0 can be written as a of 0. Star a plus 1 can be written as a of 1. Like that you can do this. So generally the formula is, here the formula is star a plus I can be written as a plus I, a of I. So this is the formula you should remember. We will use this formula in number of discussions, okay, hereafter. Okay, remember this formula, star a plus I is same as a of I. So to conclude this, so if you know, if you allocate memory sequentially one after another, then what is the advantage? You need not to remember the address of each and every element. You just have to remember the address of first element. Okay, then based on the address of first element, you can calculate the address of remaining element or like this, and you can access the values in that locations by using either dereferencing operator or array subscript operator. Okay, the question is how to do this programmatically. The question is how to allocate memory continuously by using our programs. Then now, okay, to address that issue, so there is a concept called arrays. So by using arrays, you can allocate memory continuously for elements one after another.